Hi friends, it is Thursday, March 9th, day 9 of our meditation challenge. I'm trying to get these in earlier, so there's more time in the day to do this. If I could just get one day ahead, that would probably be even better. But anyway, so day 9 of our meditation challenge, it's coming along nicely. So let's get ready, settle in. I am back in the kitchen floor. That seems to be the theme here for me anyway. It seems to be working out so far. Find your shape and let's do it. I am going to start the timer and 15 minutes starts now. So dropping in, checking in, coming into yourself, creating that space, your own little bubble, your own little environment where you can just sit or lay, and where you can take a moment and connect with yourself, when you can, tap into your witnessing capacity, where you can kind of soften, take a load off maybe, where you can notice what's coming up. And yesterday we were talking about having a zero emotional capacity to do anything, and then just kind of starting, or not even starting, but just being in that space of not being able to do anything. And it is an interesting space. And what is interesting, that everything is temporary. Everything is impermanent, right? One of the big Buddhist things, everything is impermanent. And that is in fact true. Even though in those moments when we are either struggling or in emotional pain or in dysregulated state, it does feel like it's gonna take forever. And sometimes the time that it takes is long enough for us to feel like it's taking forever. And I haven't heard really a whole lot of feedback on yesterday's meditation, so I'm not really sure where that landed with you, or if that is just a little too hard to talk about, or whether you possibly didn't relate, which is fine. But for what I observe and what I find, that from that place of having zero emotional capacity, there comes at some point a little bit of a shift. And for me anyway, hi Keiki. Hello. Sit please. Good girl, thank you. For me anyway, the shift that occurred was I don't want to be in this space. And it is funny because there's an acceptance for being in that space. And the moment that the acceptance is there, you're like, okay, and that's a surrender, right? And that's something that came up for me yesterday after I watched that meditation, and I kind of sat with it and did it myself. One of the things that I did not say out loud was the word surrender. And when I was talking about not having any emotional capacity and, kind of like giving up the resistance, finding yourself in a place where, the emotional pain becomes so large that at some point you just kind of are like, I give up. I give up, right? And not give up as in I give up on life or I give up on goals or anything, but like I give up the resistance, right? And that's surrender. That is surrender. And I think everybody has a different way to get to that place. And I think surrender has this sometimes negative connotation where you are giving up your power, right? When you surrender, you're giving up your power. Where the way that I see it actually is that if you're resisting, if there's a resistance and you keep fighting, you keep pushing, you keep holding on to something, right? Whether it's in your head or in your heart or in life, that is resistance, and that is not surrender, right? So surrender is accepting whatever is for what it is and accepting your reaction to it and accepting the resistance, or rather the moment you stop resisting is the moment when you surrender. And that leads me into really what came up for me, and that is you can only control, and I struggle with the word control because it also leads into some rabbit holes, but let's use it for now. And in the sense that the only control that you have is over yourself. And that is also partially true because when you are in emotional dysregulated state, when you're in fight, flight, freeze, when you are in pain body, or when you are in ego, then you do not have a control. You are not surrendered. You are operating out of fear, and you are resisting, right? So, and that is, that is not a place where you can heal anything from. That is not a place where you can non-judgmentally observe. That is not a place where you can neutrally perceive. That is not a place that you can witness from. So that is something that I think it's important to, and that I guess that's kind of an expanding on yesterday, even though I really like to go and talk further into the only control you have of yourself, but I think that's going to have to wait until tomorrow. So I guess maybe I already have a topic for tomorrow, right? The only thing that you control, you can control, not only you do control, because sometimes you don't. The only thing you can control is yourself, but not when you're dysregulated. right? You gotta find a way to either ride it out if you're dysregulated, or you just gotta stay there until you naturally, at some point, right, impermanence will ride the cycle, and then you get to the end where there is no more resistance in you, or you decide, because it becomes so bad that you decide that you're done with that, and then you need to find a new way, right? And then resistance stops and it's replaced by surrender, right? By internal surrender to what is, not giving up, not a powerless surrender, right? Let's be really clear of what surrender means. Okay, let's be really clear, really clarify to yourself. And it took me a really long time to sit with surrender and find what that means to me and how I relate to it. So especially if you feel in some way activated by the word surrender, I really encourage you to explore where is there some fear of giving up some power, right? Your internal power. And then going back into yourself, because that is a conversation within you, right? That is an internal conversation. And really, honestly, everything that we're doing here is an internal conversation. It is a conversation with yourself, whether it's the conversation with your witness consciousness, whether it's the conversation with your regulated self, or whether it's the conversation with the not regulated self. And sometimes you can have a conversation with the not regulated self. Again, I think it bears repeating. The moment you're dysregulated, you may not be able to have that conversation. However, it still is a conversation that happens within yourself. So surrender. Accepting the state that you're in the present moment completely. And not only that, because you can accept where you're in the moment, but still resist a bunch of things. So surrender is actually removing the resistance. Surrender is opposite of the resistance, in my opinion, right? For me, not even in my opinion, for me. Hi, Peppy. Here's my other meditation partner. Don't break my thing. So, and here is what I think comes from surrender. From surrender comes path, a possible path out of suffering. Not out of pain, because there still may be, even when you stop resisting, even when you surrender, and even when you start taking actions that are aligned with love and with surrender, there still can be grief and loss and sadness. There could be something else. I think it's good to investigate whatever shows up, but it is not the same pain as before surrender. I wonder if that makes any sense, to any of you. And again, not getting any feedback on yesterday, threw me off a little bit because I don't know how that landed for anybody. But I guess that's fine. Like, it is what it is. You guys are going to take it whichever way you'll take it. And then you will get your own internal sense of what is happening within you, or what you need to look at. And this is really all that this is, right? It is an opportunity to ask yourself, is this something that I need to look at within myself? Or is this something that's not mine at all, and it does not relate to me, and therefore I can ignore it, right? So it's always a invitation, 15 minutes, just like that. It's always an invitation to see whether there is an opportunity to look at something. And you know that if it hits, that if it hits, there's something to look at. Because if it hits, then it's telling you, it's a feedback. Everything is a feedback. And that is another topic that I want to talk about. Either tomorrow or the next day, depending on where I land on the control. But feedback, everything is a feedback. And that is really, really important, I think, part of the whole equation. If you adopt the view that everything's a feedback. But I am getting ahead of myself. So again, thank you so much for joining me in this very discombobulated meditation session. I appreciate you tuning in, because for whatever reason, the fact that I can share this out, and then maybe something will resonate with somebody, really helps my own processes. And it also, just the fact that I can just, put it out there really helps me. I am definitely a verbal processor. That is for sure. So thank you so much for tuning in. Any questions, any feedback, whatever has landed for you, or anything that you'd like to share, please do so. And I will see you again tomorrow for day 10. From my heart to yours, always, always. Namaste. Bye, friends.